Welcome to EV-olution. My name is Andre Lawrence. This is my channel about electric cars from a different perspective and what happens to the 12-volt battery in a car that has an accessory that runs 24/7, like the dash cam that I've got in my Kia EV6. Does the battery get drained overnight? Does a gas car have any advantages or disadvantages versus an electric car like this one? Are there any solutions to protect your 12-volt battery for an accessory that's running all the time? Well, I happen to be holding one of those solutions in my hands right now. If you want to find out all about it, stick around. I'll let you know in 10 seconds. As usual, I want to give full disclosure. Blackboxmycar, the company that sells this product, reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to review a dash cam. I told them thanks, but I've already done my research, bought and reviewed one, and this isn't a dash cam review channel. But I did ask them if they had anything that protects the 12-volt battery of your car, and we'll get to this product in a second. And they said, this is it, you want to review it? I said, sure, after doing some research, and I got it for free. With that being out of the way, let's get to it. This is a 12-volt battery protection device. It's a battery itself, and it goes between my dash cam that runs 24/7 and my 12-volt accessory battery. That means that when my car is turned off and my dash cam is running 24/7, this thing is what feeds it, not my 12-volt battery. And when I power on the car, 12-volt battery charges this battery, and everything is good. Now, I'm interested in this device because the Kia and Hyundai EVs have 12-volt maintenance, let's call them challenges. So this will hopefully solve the problem, at least for the additional 12-volt drain that I've got on the car with my dash cam. If you're wondering why in the last segment I had nothing on my nose and in this segment I do have something on my nose, well, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that yesterday, as of recording this part of the video, I did something kind of silly. And it's been a couple of months since I actually recorded the previous segment. So first of all, thank you Blackboxmycar for being patient. And second of all, let's get to the unboxing of this product. The Powercell 8 is actually made by a Korean company called eGen. Now eGen makes a product called a Cell-Link Neo, which is sort of an equivalent, and there are a couple differences which we'll get to in a second. Now the Powercell 8 is this little box that you've got right here, and it comes with some wires that we'll get to in a second. Now if we have a quick look at the back of this device, you'll see a few connections. The first connector we'll look at is the power input. Now you plug in the Powercell 8 to one of two power sources. You can either use this standard 12-volt connector, that's this right here. This plugs into the 12-volt outlet in your car, and then you plug this other end right here into the battery pack itself, and this will charge up the pack from 0 to 100% in about 100 minutes. Now the alternative is to use the hardwire kit. Now the hardwire kit will give you a faster charge, about doubles the speed, so in about 50 minutes to charge this to full. Now this connects to the same input port, and then you've got these two connectors right here. One that would go to a fuse tap to go into your fuse box, and then the other one that gets grounded to body. Now with that being said, there's a YouTube channel called Retro Car Guy who's done a review of this. He purchased this product and then gives an alternate. Because this device pulls a little more amperage than I'm comfortable with based on his analysis, having this on a 20 amp fuse that's already in the car and having a fuse tap, considering something else might draw a ton of current at the same time, I'd rather hardwire this the way that he says, and that includes a relay and an inline fuse and hooking it straight to the battery of your car, the 12-volt battery that is. And I'll show you how all that works very shortly, and I will link to the Retro Car Guy video below. It's actually very informative and something that made me choose to do the hard route and do it the better way, in my opinion. Now with that being said, there is the user manual that you've got right here. Now the user manual will give you a little code that you can scan with your cell phone so that you can get the Cell-Link Neo Plus app. Now this is Bluetooth connected, so you'll have the Cell-Link Neo Plus app that'll allow you to set the charging rate and a couple other things. Another thing that you've got in here is some Velcro strips. So these two little Velcro strips will allow you to stick them to the bottom of the pack and then jam that in your glove box so that it doesn't move around. You can put this pretty much anywhere you want. It's not a problem. The other wire that came with this is this dash cam hardwire kit, and that's for this connector here, which is the second connector on this device, and that goes like that. Now the nice thing about this being hardwired and ready to go is that this is already set up for my Viofo dash cam. Now there are a couple options when you purchase this on the Blackboxmycar website. This one is 100% ready to go. All I have to do is run the wire to my dash cam, plug this in with this connected over here. This will power my dash cam. This gets the power from my 12-volt battery when the car is powered on. But when my car is powered off, my parking mode is running off of this cable, running off of this pack, protecting my 12-volt battery. The next thing we've got right here is a USB A 5-volt connector that you can use to charge up a cell phone. If you've got a little wire that you hook up to it, you've got a firmware update port right here. Then you've got the on-off button. Now this on-off button sets to lower-high, and the lower-high switch is for low power, or hardwire for the high-powered charging option. And the last connector is this one right here. Now the extended battery pack or external battery pack is a pack connection that goes to the CellLink Neo extended battery 2. That's a second battery, and it essentially increases the overall capacity of the pack. So if you park your car for more extended periods of time without driving it, then having a second battery pack will let your dash cam run for longer. So what's the Blackboxmycar battery pack made of? It's actually a lithium iron phosphate battery pack that has several advantages that we'll get to in a second. Now this is a 96 watt hour or 7500 milliamp hour battery pack, and that means that with a single 1080p dash cam you'll get about 45 hours of stated time. That's what Blackboxmycar says. You'll also get about 30 hours if you've got a dual channel 1080p dash cam, and if you've got a 3-channel dash cam like mine, you'll get between 15 and 20 hours depending on the combination of what you've got. Now I've got a 4K 1080, which is the worst case scenario, and they say 15 to 20 hours. We'll get to that a little bit later in my video. So what are the advantages of a lithium iron phosphate battery pack as compared to lithium ion? Well, lithium ion in extreme heat tends to like to blow up. So that's not good when you want to put a battery pack inside your car where the cabin can get quite hot. Now the nice thing is that this will have an operating range of -20 Celsius to +70 Celsius, making it very safe, and this has great thermal stability. Now another thing that's nice about lithium iron phosphate is that they like to be charged to 100% and stay there, unlike a lithium ion pack. Now this will go to 0% discharge without causing any damage as well, meaning that this will last a lot longer than a lithium iron pack if it goes from 0 to 100 multiple times and in extreme temperatures. So better discharge charge characteristics, great thermal stability, and a very safe pack to put in your car. Now what about the differences that I mentioned earlier with regards to this Powercell 8 versus the CellLink Neo, which is a similar pack? Well, the rear of this device is almost identical to the CellLink Neo. This has the added advantage of having a USB-A port on the back of the device, so if you want to charge up a cell phone, you can do that. Another big difference with the CellLink Neo battery pack, the Powercell 8 is a 7500 milliamp hour, as opposed to the CellLink Neo, which is about 6000 milliamp hours. Now that means that this has a 25% bump in capacity, making it last longer than the other device. Now the nice thing is that this pack is made by the company called eGen, which is a company that's in Vancouver, Canada, and it's actually manufactured in Korea. So very nicely designed product that is well made and well built, very robust feeling. And now we get to go install it in the car, so let's go have some fun. I've opted to install my Powercell 8 into the Kia EV6 glove box. Now one thing that may be apparent from this other camera here is that this glove box is completely sealed. There are no openings in the top and the bottom or whatever. Now what that means is that I need to get these two wires into the glove box, and you can tell that these connectors, it's not a big deal because they're small, but this little magnet here, ferrite magnet, is kind of big. So I'm going to need to drill a hole that gets that thing right through there. Now I've opted to put the hole up in the top so that you don't really see it, and I looked in the back and there isn't really anything going on back there, so that's what I'm going to do. Now that isn't pretty, but I'll be cleaning that up with my Dremel in 2 seconds. I've used my trusty Dremel to clean that little hole out, and I'll show you what that looks like. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. That should allow me to get the wires through and have my Powercell 8 on the bottom. And I'm going to actually put it like that. Having this Velcro to the bottom, it won't move, it won't vibrate because it's got that extra padding from the Velcro. My connectors have room to come out, and they'll go through this little hole right up here, and that will make my Powercell 8 a stealth installation. All that's going to be left is to run the wires from there down underneath to the fuse box and up to the dash cam, which is right up there. And that ought to be fun because I've got to take the A-pillar cover off. Let's do that now. When I installed my dash cam, if you watch the video that I made for that, and I'll have that up here on the screen for you to check out, I basically zip tied everything up. So I'm gonna have to start doing things in reverse order to get all of this out. So let's start by clipping this. And I'll pull the power. And now I need to remove this little cover. Just pull it down. Of course, there's another zip tie there. And now I need to remove the power cable from that spot there. Now I've hidden it all the way up underneath. And this is where it becomes interesting. Now, as I mentioned in my installation video, it was very, very important that this wire be passed behind the airbag, because if the airbag were to go off and this wire were just tucked up here underneath, it may get ejected out towards me as a driver or a passenger for the power wire or that goes to the back camera and injure them badly, because these things come out at blazingly fast speeds. So if you do this installation, I take no responsibility whatsoever for how you install this and these wires, because if you do it improperly, you could get seriously hurt. Okay, that was no fun. Because this is shaped in a 90-degree, it can get hooked on a wire or plastic back there, so you want to be very careful as you run it through to not hook or pull anything, because that's airbag stuff. Next thing that I did was run it up this rubber right here all the way down to this joint here. So it's quite easy to take out. And now it's tie wrapped all up underneath there, so I'm going to go snip some tie wraps off camera. To position my Powercell 8 in the glove box, I want to keep it down with these Velcro strips that are also going to add a little bit of insulation so that it doesn't rattle on the plastic. So I'll start by adhering one of the sides of these little stickers to the bottom of the Powercell 8. Do the other one. Now when I do this, I'm going to be putting this in the glove box. I want to make sure that these power connectors are facing to where the hole is, because if I put it up against the other side, it's a bit of a problem. Let's just remove these right here. Now in order to do this, I want to make sure that I give a little bit of clearance from the back and from the side of the glove box, because I don't want this thing rattling against those either. So I'm going to be offsetting it slightly towards the center. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm giving myself about a finger's space in the front and on the side. Now with that being positioned that way, it gives me a teeny bit of room. I have no idea if you can see with this camera or what you're seeing. It gives me a little bit of space all around the edges so that it doesn't rattle against the glove box. Now it's a matter of getting the wire from here to the dash cam. Now I have to take the power wire, put it through the same hole. I've got both wires through the hole and ready to be passed through to the other side, then up the A-pillar for one, and then to the power source, which I'm going to have to explain. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to be connecting this in the same way that it says in the instructions to go to a fuse tap directly into the fuse box, just because of the amount of amperage that this thing could pull when it charges versus the other accessory that's in the car that'll use the same circuit. So I'm going to be running a dedicated line. And I'll put a link to the video from Retro Car Guys, who explains everything in much better detail than I could, but I will show you the components, some connectors that I'm going to use to connect to the battery's post for the positive power. I've also got an inline fuse. I'm also going to be connecting a relay that is the 4-post relay that's exactly like in the video that I'm linking to below, and then the connectors and all the stuff that goes with that. The hardwire kit that I got from Blackboxmycar is essentially the same one. It comes from Viofo for my T130 3-channel dash cam, and I'll have a link for the video that I've got for the unboxing and the review of that product up here on the screen for you to see. But this wire has one difference, and that's this piece here. This has been spliced onto the hardwire kit so that it can connect directly to my Powercell 8. The power source for this though, that'll charge the battery, that's the other wire, and we'll get to that after. If you're wondering how I got the wire from the dash cam all the way across into the glove box, let me show you with this other camera. It's not that hard, but there's some little tricky stuff like an e-airbag. So I came down this portion right here, like I showed a little bit earlier, and I wrapped it through here, and I went in behind this panel, and it's tie wrapped up here. And as you can see, I've got the loom all tie wrapped up here. And then I run it all the way up underneath because that knee airbag is in the way, so it's way up in the dash. And then I've tie wrapped it up here into some wiring, and then I came back down and tie wrapped it on this loom here, ran it behind this plastic all the way across, and then up underneath, coming right up under here. And in this plastic trim, it's nicely hidden, and then I'm able to run it up into here, and it enters right here. And I will be putting tape around the wire so that it doesn't chafe around this edge. And that's cable number 1. Let me show you exactly where I'm going to run that power wire. This is the power wire that's supplied by Blackboxmycar for the Powercell 8, and it's got the connector, as I mentioned before, for the Powercell 8, and then you've got the power in. This is a 14 gauge wire that I purchased, and I'm going to be running the red wire from the battery positive terminal, and that's right here. Basically, I'm just going to loosen that and remove my battery tender terminal. Well, I'm going to loosen it, and then I'm going to stick in another one for the power lead that'll go into the car. Now, the tricky part is getting that wire into the car because, well, everything is really well sealed. I found one potential spot, and that would be really hard to show you. Supposedly, this is a rubber grommet that'll let me get into the car. Now, all I want to do is poke a little hole and then run that wire in, and then probably put some little gummy stuff so it seals it up completely. I'm going to mess around with this off camera because there's surely going to be some swearing, and it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. So I've got the power wire that goes to the Powercell 8, and it's hooked up to this relay. And the other wire that's going from the battery comes through the firewall, through a factory grommet, into a fuse, and then gets taken care of by this other stuff. This fuse tap will plug into an accessory port, the USB charging ports that I had used previously for the other hardwire kit. And then you've got a ground and another ground. The ground for the relay and the ground for the Powercell 8. And both of these will be connected in the same place under the dash, exactly where I had grounded my previous kit. Well, as expected, 4 hours later after starting this installation, adding cameras doesn't help, but it's not a job for the faint of heart. If you're not technically inclined or electrically inclined, then I don't think this is the kind of installation that you should attempt. It is definitely not difficult, but it's definitely not easy. Now, with that being said, let me show you exactly where I passed the wiring because it looks factory pretty much, and I think I did a decent job. So let me give you a look with this camera here. Underneath the frunk is the battery access, and the positive lead here. This is the one that I've installed for the camera, and it goes to this terminal here. This is my battery monitor, and it's a Bluetooth battery monitor, and I've stuck it on that one to give some extra room. And then I've tie wrapped things down here, run the wire across, and I really don't know if you're going to see this on this camera. I'm going to try. There is a rubber grommet right back here, and I've got the wire going through the rubber grommet. It is a dual-sided rubber grommet. That means that the thing is sealed, so it goes through the firewall, and there's a membrane on the outside and a membrane on the inside, and I had to puncture both. Now, getting through that took a ton of time and, let's say, a lot of swearing. So no fun, but it is perfectly sealed and no water or dust will get into the car. It's factory type of installation. Let me show you what I've done on the inside. Taking this much time to properly install this was actually really well worth it because the Powercell 8 is now hidden in my glove box, as you can see right here, with the wires going through the little hole that I drilled in the back. And if you look over here, there are no wires. That's just the high voltage wiring from the factory. You can't see my wiring. And if you look over here, there's nothing there. It's all well hidden. And then over on the driver's side, if I get you low enough, you'll be able to see some of the wiring hidden up there. There is the installed fuse tap that goes to the power of the relay that ends up going to the Powercell 8, and the relay gets power from the 12-volt battery. And if you want to see the up close of the wiring that's tucked up inside and the rubber grommet that I've passed it through, I've got this camera here. Let me show you what it looks like. These are the two grounds. All the wiring is all tie wrapped up in there. This is just a whole bunch of wiring that I've figure eight zip tied onto the looms that are already there. My relay is right up in here, and everything else is nicely tucked up inside. And there is the rubber grommet. And my dash cam is working. I've done the test with the car powered on. The camera powers on.
Recording. 3 channels started.
So that's the driving mode. And then if I turn the car off,
Parking recording started.
Parking recording started, and that's all running off of the Powercell 8. Earlier in the video, when I said that the Powercell 8 battery pack has Bluetooth built in and an app available, you were probably wondering, like I was, why would you need an app for a battery pack? Now, it's actually something that's been quite useful since I've installed it and had time to play with it for the last few days. So let me show you what it looks like here. If you look at the app on my phone, it's called CellLink Neo Plus. You just tap on that, it powers up, and it's already detected mine, so it's pretty instant to get to the information. But when you start yours up, you'll see that it has to do a search. Once it searches, it finds the Powercell 8 with the serial number. You just tap on that, and then it'll bring you to this same screen. Now, the first time I did this, it wouldn't detect the Powercell 8. Don't pair the Powercell 8 with your cell phone beforehand. It's automatic. Just press the search again button a few times, and it'll find it and link up to your phone. Now, what's cool about this screen is it not only gives you the model with the serial number, and the state of charge with the temperature, which I actually find quite interesting, is it gives you the charging voltage input and output. Now, my car is powered off, so what you're seeing now is that the dash cam is pulling 13.3 volts with 0.4 amps. Now, to avoid you having to do the math, with the 7500 milliamp hour battery capacity, you can see right at the bottom the usable time. This is something that I thought was very cool because you don't have to do any calculations. The app tells you automatically how long one charge will last for your battery pack with regards to your dash cam. Now, your dash cam will determine how long this battery pack will last. Mine is one of the worst case scenarios. I've got the Viofo T130, which is a 3-channel dash cam. Not only is it 3-channel, but the front camera is 4K and the interior and rear cameras are 1080. So that means that this camera is pulling more power. If you've only got a single camera dash cam, let's say you've got a 1080p Viofo A129 or A119, that's going to last you a lot longer. That means that with this battery pack in my car, if I don't drive my car at least once per day for, I don't know, 25 minutes, because it's about 50 minutes to get to a full charge for this battery pack, then my battery pack is going to die and my dash cam will turn off. But if you're driving to and from work, you're not going to have any problems with your battery pack. It'll stay charged because that trip home and trip to work will keep your battery pack charged up. Something else in the app, you can see that my charging current when I power up the car, and there it is, it's now charging at 13.7, 12.6 volts. And you can see 9 amps. Now, the charging at 9 amps is something that I've set. 9 amp charging is the maximum, and that can be achieved by tapping on the gear icon at the top right. The default pin is 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap OK. And you'll see at the bottom, charging current. If you tap on the 9, then you'll be able to set it to whatever current you want. By default, it's set to 7.5 amps. I bumped it up to 9 because, as you saw earlier, I have a straight shot to my 12-volt battery in my car with a relay. That means that I have no problems pulling the maximum amount of power straight to my battery pack. One thing I found was not so good about this app is the little lock icon at the top right. I originally thought that the lock icon was to unlock the settings if you're on this screen, so you have to enter the password to change something. That's not the case. If I tap this lock icon, it says password change in pretty light writing in the light gray at the top, and I didn't notice that. And I just tapped in there and went 1, 2, 3, 4, thinking that it was something I needed to enter, tapped OK. And it says password change, and I completely ignored that as well because that's what I do sometimes. But what happens, it's not asking for a confirmation of the PIN. You don't enter it a second time. So what if I had gone in, and I did this a few times really quickly the first time I played with this app, what if I type 1, 2, 3, 5 by mistake because my finger slipped over the 5 instead of the 4? I mean that I've essentially locked myself out of the app. Now, I don't know if I would be able to clear the cache and uninstall and reinstall and get it all back, but it's a little bit of an oversight. If you tap on the change password icon, theoretically it should ask you for the PIN a second time. That would be far safer than having to go through the trouble of uninstalling this thing. Now, with that being said, you can actually stop the charging in the app with this charging stop slide icon right here. You can actually turn off the beeping. The battery will beep on and beep off, and you can just click on save. And if you've changed any of these things and you don't like the way it is, there's actually the reset button at the bottom that you can tap, and that'll reset everything to default. But don't tap on the reset if you've got your dash cam connected to it. It specifically says when you tap on reset, do you want to reset? Yes. Well, disconnect the power from the dash cam before you do the reset. So something to be careful for. Tap close, and I will close the X on the top right. So there you go, that's a quick tour of the Powercell 8 eGen app for this battery pack. Quite useful, and something that I didn't actually think I was going to use, but end up going into almost once a day. Since installing my Powercell 8 a couple of weeks ago in my car, I remembered that I had some corrugated tubes, so I decided to unzip tie and add the corrugated tube to the power lead from my 12-volt battery to the firewall, making it look much cleaner and a little more factory, as you can tell from this video. Another thing that I've noticed in the last couple of weeks having this in my car, well, the Powercell 8 is giving me some pretty good uptime. Now, the stated range for a 3-channel dash cam from Blackboxmycar is 15 to 20 hours, and I'm getting in the upper limits of that. I'm getting about 18 hours of uptime with my 4K 1080 3-channel dash cam. So I'm pretty pleased with the performance of the Powercell 8. Now, what about the question of a gas car versus an electric car? Well, a gas car, when it's powered off, the alternator is not spinning and it's not maintaining your 12-volt battery. That means that your dash cam that runs 24/7 will put a constant draw on your 12-volt battery, and if it's left on for long enough and you don't drive your car every day, well, the 12-volt battery could get to a level of voltage that's low enough to cause damage to some of the cells inside. That means that having a Powercell 8 in your gas car is a good idea because this will go to 0%, cause no damage because it's a lithium iron phosphate, and protect your 12-volt battery, meaning that you'll be able to start your car the next day or after a few days of being parked. Now, what about the question of an electric car? Well, an electric car has a giant high voltage battery underneath it that protects and maintains your 12-volt battery. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the Hyundai and Kia EVs had a 12-volt battery maintenance issue because of the programming of the software. Well, since recording that portion, I've had my car updated and the latest software maintains the 12-volt battery much better. Does that mean that this becomes useless? Well, not really, because in the winter when it's cold, your 12-volt battery is still maintained, but having that extra load on your 12-volt battery, when it's minus 20 degrees, I'd rather have some protection having this battery pack between my 12-volt and my dash cam to make sure that my 12-volt doesn't take any major hits. The Powercell 8 isn't the cheapest thing you can buy. It's 470 Canadian or 350 US as of the recording of this video, but I still think that in certain cases it's going to be well worth it. A 12-volt battery can be very expensive to replace depending on the model of your car, and having this as a buffer in between that and the device that's draining it, it's a good idea. Now, if you feel like buying one of these Powercell 8 devices or anything else from the Blackboxmycar website, I've got 2 links in the description below. One is to the Blackboxmycar US website, and the other is to the Blackboxmycar Canadian website. Now, the 2 links that I'm putting in the description below are affiliate links. It doesn't affect the price that you pay, but if you use the links that I've got in the description below, there are 2 things. One is you'll get a 5% rebate, which is better than 0%, so feel free to use that to get your rebate, but it also gives me a teeny commission on the value of the products that you purchase. So if you use my links, thank you very much, I appreciate it. It helps me finance this channel. I wanted to take the time to say thank you to everybody who's already subscribed to my channel, because as of the recording of this part of the video, I've actually got 13,629 subscribers, which it blows my mind. Thank you very much. It really means the world to me that you think my content is worth subscribing to my channel. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate you helping me get to my personal goal of 15,000 subscribers by clicking on that subscribe button, as well as clicking on the notification bell, because I have zero posting schedule. I post when I can. Now, with that being said, I've got some social media links that I'll show you what they look like up here on the screen, as well as in the description of the video below. I've got an Instagram account that you might want to see what happened to my nose and something silly helping my neighbor. And no, it wasn't a fight. And I've also got an EV-olution Facebook page where I share news articles about EVs, and I've also got my personal Facebook page. I've got a Ko-fi account, so if you feel like buying me a coffee on Ko-fi, well, that's there. And I've got my EV-olution website where you can purchase an EV-olution t-shirt or an EV-olution hoodie to help support me on this channel. With that being said, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and don't forget, I've got bloopers right at the end. Welcome to EV-olution. Welcome. Starting over again. Every time I start. Welcome to EV-olution. My name is Andre Lawrence, and this is my channel about electric cars and dogs barking in the background, because that's what it wants to do every single time I speak. Because this thing has a giant battery underneath, and are there any solutions to protect your 12-volt battery? Well, I just be jamming. Welcome to EV-olution. My name is Andre Lawrence. This is my channel about electric cars and planes and dogs, and this is like, what the hell is going on today? Well, let's stop that and start all over. This is my channel about electric cars from a different perspective, and that's a really loud blue jay again. Blackboxmycar is the company that sells this product. They've got a US and a Canadian. Do you have anything that protects a 12-volt battery when you have a dash cam? That's when they said, hey, we've got this, do you want to try it? So thanks, but no thanks. And there's a car, and now I gotta start all over. Now we'll get into some of those little, I sound drunk. It's essentially a battery that goes between the cars, cars, nice. Well, essentially the Powercell 8 is a 12-volt battery protection. There's a protection. Because I'm recording this a couple of months after that previous part. Thank you, my box. You can connect the CellLink Neo external battery pack to this. It is 100% EV. No, go, come on, I'm busy. He's done a lot of analysis in terms of what it draws, and sticking this on a fuse tap to a current, blah, 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 blah. That's all crap. This connector's still gonna go to the Powercell 8, but instead of running the ground and the power to, no. Probably would be fine, but I'm going to do the alternate thing. No, I've already said that. The power connector that goes to the device, and then you've got the power to the device. What the hell? Earlier in the video when I mentioned that the Powercell, you might have been wondering, why would a battery have an app? I don't know why a battery would have an app. The Powercell 8 has Bluetooth and an app attached to it. Yeah, it's stuck right onto the box itself. Bluetooth built in and has an app available. You were probably wondering, put potatoes in my mouth. Audio sync 1, 2, 3. Yippee! I'm getting more close to the 20 hours with about 18 hours of uptime. Now, a gas car doesn't have a giant battery sitting underneath. Another thing that I've noticed since having this installed in my car for the last puckle weeks, Jesus. And it means the world to me if you subscribe, because it makes me want to make more content. And that's redundant because I've said that already, so now I have to start over. Well, let's hope that the noise didn't mess that up.